Hi guys, Chris here and welcome to my Cube iWork10 Ultimate or Flagship review. Now I've had this tablet now for 2 weeks and I've been using it as much as I can, much as possible. Firstly I'll just go over the design of the tablet. So it's a 2-in-1, it's an Atom Cherry Trail, it has an X5 Z8300 in it, 4GB of RAM, it's only single channel, 64GB eMMC, and you can either get a Windows 10 version or an Android and Windows dual boot version. Now I've converted mine over to dual boot, which I don't actually recommend you do. I recommend you just buy it because I ran into some problems when I did that. But anyway, the design of the tablet. It has a 10.1 inch screen. It's 1920 by 1200 pixels. And it looks quite nice, and the brightness once you disable the Intel power saving settings is actually quite bright. Now I've measured it to be about 310 nits of brightness, which isn't bad at all. It's about as bright as the Chewy Hi10 screen, and the screen also has a very small gap when it comes to the laminated display, non-laminated, sorry. Most displays have quite a large gap of about 2mm. This one has a millimeter, perhaps even under. It's a little hard to show on camera, but what it basically looks like is, it almost looks like it is actually fully laminated, but it's not. There is a slight gap there. I'll see if I can try and give you a better shot of what I mean, but it's not probably going to come out there on the camera, no. So we have 2-megapixel front facing camera on the front, and the quality of it is average at best. I mean, in good lighting it's okay for Skype. It's not close cropped like some of them, so you get a bit of a wide shot, but not that wide really. And we do have a Windows Home button, and on the bottom you can see the connectors for the keyboard, which I will show you shortly. So on the right hand side we have 2 speakers. Now both of these speakers are one of the worst actual points of the tablet. They're not particularly good, and we don't get any stereo separation, of course, of having them both on the right side, which isn't good. And they honestly, they do not sound very good. So we have a 2-megapixel rear facing camera, and we have our volume up and down and power on buttons there on the top. And on the left side is where we have all of those ports. Now we have a micro SD card slot. Currently got a 64GB card, I think it's in there at the moment, and it worked fine. I'm not having any problems with the slot whatsoever. We do have a micro USB 3 port, but this is where I do have a few problems. Okay, this port works at USB 3 speeds only with flash drives. What I mean, like a USB pen drive here. So this SanDisk that I have will work and give me fast speeds, but I cannot plug in my 1TB external hard drive. This one here that I have, it's a Toshiba. Plug this in and it just will not let me access the files. Now Cube actually just included a USB 2 to full-size USB OTG adapter. They didn't include a USB 3 one, which was odd. When I first unboxed I thought that's strange, and the reason behind that is because they obviously knew they've had problems with that port. So a bit of a pain there. If you connect up with a USB 2, it'll work fine. Then we have a micro HDMI here, micro HDMI, and then we have our USB 2 for powering the tablet, and a 3.5mm headphone jack there. And the back, it's a matte metal finish, and the build of it is actually very nice. I do like it. I do think it is definitely better than the Chewy Hi10, because we do have a metallic build, and it feels quite nice in hand. It's very solid. There are no creaks. There's no flex in it. It's well made, well put together. Now here we have the keyboard, and I actually really like this keyboard. I think it actually is a lot better than I thought it would be. I expected something similar maybe to the Hi10 keyboard from the Chewy. This one's a little better. The keys are slightly larger. The key travel on the keyboard, it isn't too bad. Okay, it's a smaller keyboard, so it's a little cramped when using it, but once you adjust to it, I find it fine. I've been doing a bit of typing on this, and it's not really a problem for me. I'm a little fussy with keyboards, and I came from my Type Cover 4 from my Surface 4, and I find that it's alright, so you just have to get used to it. Now the trackpad is usable. It's small. I mean, we've only got 10.1 inches of real estate here to use, and I think they've done an okay job with that. Now the keyboard, the top of it is metal, quite a nice finish, and overall it has a very premium kind of build to it. I do find that this is something more that you'd expect maybe from Asus or HP or Acer or something like that in terms of build. It is good. Now we do have little rubber feet here to keep the screen away from the top on here from getting it scratched up. And we do even have little stylus LEDs. So when you disable the trackpad, this will light up red. And we do have the caps lock status LED there. Now the docking mechanism, it allows you to actually reverse the whole tablet around, which I'll show you in just a second. And you can have it propped up in a more of a presentation mode if you wanted to. And the bottom is made out of a rubberized blue kind of matte paint job. That's quite nice. It suits the tablet, and it does feel nice in hand. We have 4 sturdy rubber feet as well there, and when you insert the tablet, it will give you an increased angle there for typing comfort, which I do like. So docking it, very easy, just line it up and the magnets take care of the rest. And you will see too that we do have a USB 2 port on each side, but only USB 2. Now these ports will power, luckily, an external hard drive. So I haven't had any problems, but I'm only getting USB 2 speeds, which is a little bit of an annoyance to me. I really want USB 3. There's a USB 3 port there. So I plug this in now. You see a white light, that means USB 2, and the folder should pop up now. So there we go. It is actually working just fine. Now, of course, those ports are only accessible with the tablet in there. So if you're going to just be buying the tablet, keep in mind that, yeah, they will probably have problems. If you want to move large files, then, yeah, I wouldn't get this model for that until Cube come up with a fix for that. So overall, keyboard is great, really like that. And I did run through some various benchmarks, which I will go through now. So the internal storage, sorry, that's not the internal storage, that is the flash drive that I benchmarked, my SanDisk Extreme. And I'll have a look here, sorry. Here is my internal storage speeds. So yes, Windows activated without any problems. Sorry, I messed up there. I didn't actually have a screen capture of the speed, so I'm just benchmarking it right now. But the eMMC drive on board here is a SanDisk, sorry, Samsung, not a SanDisk, Samsung unit, and it is a MC-G8GC. And the speeds are actually quite good, which you'll see here. I have no complaints with them at all. So I just wanted to show you some benchmarks while I let that run in the background. I know that's going to affect the performance of the benchmark, but it's just so you get an idea. So the Geekbench 3 score, not a bad score. I mean, this is on par with most other tablets that run the Atom X5 Z8300. And I have here the 3D Mark iStorm Extreme score. Not a bad score. iStorm Unlimited 1.2. The CloudGate score. And I did test out the wireless. Now, when I ran this test, I got about 50 megabits per second download from my desktop and about 25 uploads. So these speeds are quite, well, they're almost the same, really, aren't they? So more or less, not too bad. And now if I went downstairs in my house, furthest away from my router, those speeds do tend to lower quite a bit, about half that speed. But the same thing happens with my Surface Pro 4. Okay, so the benchmark is still going there. And you see the write speed 63 megabits per second, read 134, not too bad. And both the random read 4K speeds are around 15 megabytes per second, which are both fine for an eMMC drive. And it is running Windows 10 Home, and it is fully activated. Didn't have any problems with that, even flashing my system over to dual boot. Okay, so I'm going to quickly swap over now to Android and just show you that and how Android runs on the system. And unfortunately there was no Play Store included, probably because the ROM that I downloaded and installed actually came from China, and China doesn't have Play already pre-installed. Now, if you do get the dual boot model, this is the screen that you'll get when you power it on. So you've got the option of Android or Windows here, and you just have to simply select the icon there and OK that, and now it's going to launch over now into Android for me. And here is the ROM. The thing I like about this ROM is, unlike some of the other ROMs that I've used, especially the ones from TechLast, I found that they haven't really put much bloatware on there. Now, I did take a screenshot when I first installed the ROM, and I just quickly show you that we had, I think it was about 4 bloat applications pre-installed, and I could remove them all, so that was really good. It's an extremely light ROM, and memory use, once running, it's literally got about 3.4 gigabytes free. I did benchmark it. They're one of the only benchmarks I've actually run in Android, unfortunately, is because of, I don't have Play Store. I couldn't install it. When you buy this as a dual boot, if you do, it should be installed, but check with your seller that it does have Google Play there. So the Antutu 6.0.4 score, 62,000, I think is quite good. And if you have a look at the other videos in the playlist, I do actually check out some games on Android and run through Android with a bit of a benchmark there. And the game's just fine, runs quite well. And overall, I do like it, apart from the fact that, there's no Play Store on there, which is quite an annoyance. It is running Android 5.1. To show you here, and the DPI they've used for the screen is actually perfect. As you can see there, the screen is nice and sharp, and it doesn't look blurred like we had on the Chewy VI10 when Chewy went with the wrong DPI. This one looks fine, and there is a wireless over-the-air update system that they do have, but there are no updates for that. When I last checked, there wasn't. No, it's just system's currently up to date. Now, storage you get around, I think it's about, it's just under 5.5 gigabytes of free space on Android. Now, in Windows, I forgot to mention when I was just in Windows before, that when you first started up with the dual boot model, you get 28 gigabytes free. So, not really a lot of storage, but at least, it's a 64 gigabyte eMMC. If it was a 32 gigabyte eMMC, then it would be even worse. And I don't particularly like dual boot on those models that only have 32 gigabyte eMMCs. Now I just want to do a quick test with the browser and the speakers so you can hear what that sounds like. So I'll load up techtablets.com, which I have actually already visited before, so it's probably cached most of it. But the speed of it is really good, and it fits everything on screen there. It's scrolling very fast, very smooth. So I'll find a video clip here. Hopefully there's one that I can just go to. There we go. TechLast X98 Plus Android review video. I'll load this up so you can just hear how pathetic these speakers are. They are not really that good at all. It's hopefully full volume here.
Hi guys, how you doing? Chris here with the TechLast X98 Plus. It's just arrived now. I've already looked at the Windows version about 3 months ago, and it wasn't a bad tablet. It had some really good battery life. This is now the dual boot version, so I'm keen to see just how well the Android side of things performs. So in this particular video, I'm just going to... Now the build is...
So the speakers, they're just not that good. They actually sound a little bit better in Windows. In Android. here at the moment. And Windows, they sound even worse. So overall, I mean, I do really like this tablet. I think it is quite a nice two-in-one, but it does have that flaw with the USB 3 port. So if you want to use USB 3 and you must have it, then I recommend you look at the Chewy HI10 or even the HI12, the larger 12-inch tablet for that. But if you want a better keyboard, a better build, and you don't mind the fact that you're going to be missing out on that, then this is probably the model to get between those two. Now, we'll have a comparison video between the Chewy HI10 and the Cube iWork10. That'll be coming up soon. And the other thing to also think about is these speakers. They don't sound wonderful. So if you're going to be using this in a loud environment and you want to only use the speakers and you need to actually hear them, then you probably want to look at another tablet that's got better speakers. Now, most of these tablets have poor speakers, but this one isn't particularly good. Thank you for watching this quick review here. There will be a full written review up on techtablets.com hopefully in about a week or so, so do keep an eye out for that. I'm currently working on it, and that will go into a lot more detail when it comes to benchmarks and everything else there. This is just a quick kind of review. Thanks for watching. Hopefully see you back in the channel soon.